It is game day, y'all. Bulls basketball is back. I got my Zach LaVine shirt on right now, the Chicago flag jersey. But Bulls basketball is back, y'all. Hope you guys are just as excited as I am for Bulls basketball. Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. I want to kind of talk about some things going into the preseason games, which was only 4. Just a reminder, not a lot of preseason games, but I want to talk about some things that you should look out for the Bulls preseason. As you know, with preseason, games don't matter. But this is the time for coaches to kind of answer some questions that they have, tinker with some lineups, kind of look at some things that they might experiment that they can't do in the regular season. There's going to be a lot going on, especially for this Bulls team, because while the Bulls addressed a lot of questions this offseason, getting Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, really fixed their bench, brought in more defensive players, right? They've also have not answered a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions that Bulls fans are really, really wondering when we get the answer to them. So just kind of keep in mind, again, that this is preseason, and I'm just going to point out a couple things. But before we get into it, though, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this. I only have a couple things kind of written down here. But first off, as you can see, this is, the big 4. I don't consider it a big 4. To me, it's a big 3 because Lonzo is not an all-star. And personally, I do not expect Lonzo Ball to ever become an all-star in the NBA. I could be 100% wrong about that, but I do expect his numbers to get better and him to get better on this Bulls team. But a couple things we need to talk about right off the bat for this Bulls team. One is 3-guard lineups. So in Billy Donovan's career, we have seen multiple times with Billy Donovan that he loves to run 3-guard lineups. The CP3 Dennis Schroeder SGA lineup in OKC when he last coached there, that was a very effective lineup in the NBA. It was by far one of the best lineups, and that was also the closing lineup for that Thunder team, and all 3 of those guards were very, very effective in crunch time. So we know with Billy Donovan that he loves those types of 3-guard lineups where all 3 of these guys, they can all handle the ball, they can all create their own shot, they can all shoot the 3. That's what we're looking for with 3-guard lineups. Now, lucky with the Bulls, CP3, right, and Dennis Schroeder, they're shorter players, right? With the Bulls, we don't really have that, like a short player, right? So it's good for the Bulls here because when Billy Donovan wants to go to those 3-guard lineups, he has size and length on the floor. So main 3-guard lineup that we're looking at, I think, for this entire season, but definitely look to see if Billy Donovan uses it in the preseason, is Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and Zach LaVine. I think everyone kind of knows that those 3 guys are going to be in a lineup together and probably going to be a staple in the rotation because you got Lonzo and Caruso, they're the defenders. Both those guys can really shoot the 3 ball. Caruso is definitely a better defender than Lonzo, but Caruso is also a pretty decent ball handler, but he's not the guy that's creating the shot. He's not a guy that's going to create his own shot. LaVine is that guy that's going to create his own shot, but the big thing I'm looking at is that all 3 of those guys are 6'4" or taller, right? That's very, very good for a 3-guard lineup, knowing that those guys have length and they're probably not going to be overmatched at that position. So look for that 3-guard lineup. Now, with Kobe White being out, we're definitely not going to see, Kobe White, obviously, but later down when it gets into November, when we're probably going to see Kobe White come back, you're going to definitely see a 3-guard lineup probably consisting of Ball, Caruso, and Kobe White, or maybe it's Caruso, Kobe, and LaVine, right? We do not know, but expect a lot of 3-guard lineups this season and just see what types of 3-guard lineups that Billy Donovan throws out there during the preseason just to kind of see how they fit together, right? Because, again, a lot of these Bulls guys, they're new, right? So we do not know how they play together, so Billy Donovan wants to answer some of those question marks in the preseason. Second thing I want to talk about for the preseason just to look out for is the plays that involve the big 3, I like to call them, which is LaVine, Vucevic, and DeRozan. Now, I have brought this up on this channel before, but I'm going to continue bringing this up because I really hope that Billy Donovan uses this type of play in his playbook this year. He probably won't, but I really hope he does because I do think this is a very, very effective play. Now, and it's time in OKC when you run this play, he would run it too much. It would be the go-to play for OKC in crunch time, and that's not good because then, defenses know, oh, here comes the play, right? But basically, this is the Hawk set that Billy Donovan ran when the big 3 was in OKC, which was Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony. Now, right here, this is like a breakdown of the OKC Hawks set, but I'm just going to break it down myself here. But in the way I look at it is this. I was big on the Bulls having to get another ball handler, a guy that can be an initiator, but also a guy that can also create his own shot. He can be dependable off the pick and roll. He can isolate, right? You need a guy that can do all of that for this Bulls team to effectively use Vucevic and LaVine. And right now, once we got DeRozan, I'm like, oh, perfect. This is exactly what I'm thinking. And this is a play that involves the big three and really opens up a lot of opportunities for all three of them. This is a very, very good play, especially in today's modern era of basketball where it's up-tempo and we're looking for a lot of motion and three-point shooting. So right here, as you can see, the big three for the OKC is on one side of the floor, right? The other two guys are on the other side of the floor. The main thing here is just imagine that the ball handler is DeRozan. Imagine Paul George is Zach LaVine. Imagine Carmelo Anthony is Nikola Vucevic. All right. So Hawk set, it involves a rip screen that usually sends a wing down to the baseline, and then you're gonna usually see them come back up to the top of the key, and they're gonna come back up going off of two stagger screens over here on the other side of the court. As you watch right here, you're gonna see Carmelo Anthony set the rip screen. Paul George goes down, and then he comes back up. So that's the basis of a Hawk set, all right? Now, at the same time, you're going to see Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony after Carmelo Anthony sets that rip screen for Paul George to go down, he's going to just set a normal pick and roll with Russell Westbrook. Now, imagine if this is DeRozan, LaVine, and Vucevic, right? DeRozan's handling the ball, he can get his own shot, right? And he's also very good at going right to the rim. But you have Vucevic setting a back screen for LaVine, right, to come through. And then he would then set a pick and roll screen near the wing for DeRozan, and then they can go. But let's just break this down and watch this in slow motion, right? Here comes Paul George off the rip screen. Again, imagine this is LaVine. So LaVine comes off here. Now right here, this could easily be just a dump-off pass, because maybe Vucevic sets such a good screen here that his man gets caught up, and then Vucevic's man doesn't want to leave Vucevic because he's a good shooter, right? This could easily just be a simple, dump off to LaVine for an easy layup, right? Let's say that's not there, though, all right? The play continues. As you can see, Paul George is then coming back around, and then you see Raymond Felton and Steven Adams, they're setting the stagger screen, so this would be the other two guys on the floor, a.k.a. Lonzo and probably Patrick Williams, right? But as this is happening, you see then, here comes the screen from Melo, and imagine this is DeRozan and Vucevic. Now, right here, just off of this, for example, you can see that this creates so many opportunities already. DeRozan can come off of this Vucevic screen and pull up right here from 18 feet. That's in DeMar DeRozan's race. DeRozan is a great mid-range shooter. Or, DeRozan can collapse the defense, draw in both of the defenders that's guarding him and also guarding Vucevic, and then pass it off to Vucevic, who can shoot it from anywhere. And Vucevic then has the opportunity to do whatever he wants. Or, let's say they both go towards Vucevic, then DeRozan can do basically whatever. He could drive to the rim, he could pull up whatever, right? But if nothing happens here, then this is the next part. If there's nothing happening here, as you can see that the Clippers decided to switch it, you're going to then see Paul George is going to come up here. So in this case, if he's Zach LaVine, he's going to get the stagger screens coming up here. And what this does is that this occupies, as you can see, this occupies the weak side of the floor. Now, if let's say DeRozan keeps the ball, it becomes strong side. But this occupies the help defenders when this initial pick and roll is happening, right? So these guys over here, they really can't come over and help, because if they do, one of these guys is open, and with Williams and Lonzo, then both those guys can shoot the three, or they can also just go towards the rim and cut and get an easy pass. So just this action right here, it makes the defense have to move around, and they can't just focus in on the ball, right? And as we continue through here, let's say nothing comes out of this, right? Even if it's just a switch, if something good happens, because then you could just dump it off to Vucevic in the post. But if nothing does come from it, then LaVine's come off a double stagger screen, and this is something that LaVine is actually very, very good at. People do not understand this about LaVine because he handles the ball a lot, but we're going to see LaVine be a lot more off-ball this year, which is good. But LaVine is a very good catch and shooter. And if you ask people what is one of the hardest things to guard in the NBA, ask the best defenders. a guy that can shoot the ball coming off stagger screens and is constantly in motion off ball, but then also has one of the best live dribbles, which means that once they catch that ball, they can do whatever they want with that ball. That is one of the hardest players to guard in the NBA. It is so difficult to guard that type of player because they're moving around constantly and they have all these weapons available to them, and they can do basically whatever they want. And right there, putting LaVine in that type of motion just opens up everything for this Bulls team, and especially for LaVine. And I really hope that Donovan runs something like this, because we did kind of see it a little bit last season. Thaddeus Young was the screener in a sense, or the big man, or like in case Melo, right? But the Bulls didn't really have that ball handler that is like the Russell Westbrook of the play, or in this case now it's DeMar DeRozan, right? So expect something like this. I hope there's something like this under Billy Donovan. I don't expect this exact play though, but I do hope that he does have a play that involves the big three working together and creating open shots. So that's the second thing I'm going to have you guys look out for this preseason, as now that Vucevic, is officially not acclimated to the system, and all these new guys are coming in. Hopefully, Donovan's going to start creating up some plays that are going to be used very effectively. But moving on from that, third thing I want to talk about is the Patrick Williams injury, or the power forward position, right? I did not make a video about the Patrick Williams injury because it was kind of late news already. We got news of it later than when it actually happened. So good news is that it looks like Patrick Williams is probably going to be back pretty quickly, but I honestly don't expect him to be ready by the start of the season. But maybe he's back by the fourth game of the season, which is not bad at all, right? But while Patrick Williams is out, this power forward position is definitely one of the biggest problems on this Bulls team, is that we do not have a lot of depth or, trustworthy players that can play this position. And the Bulls, went out in this offseason. They got like a bunch of tweeners, right? They got Derrick Jones Jr., who plays both forward positions, but we know with Derrick Jones Jr., he's a little small, right? Stanley Johnson can play both forward positions, but, can he hang with big men, right? Can he rebound like a big man? The other guy is Alize Johnson, and we do not know what he's going to be either, but he is definitely a bigger player, but can he, stretch the floor, right? So we really want to see who's going to be like filling in for Patrick Williams in the starting lineup when he's out. And my best guess, in my opinion, I honestly think that we're probably going to see maybe Troy Brown Jr. and Alex Caruso probably fighting for the starting position, because what's probably going to happen, in my opinion, is we're probably going to see DeMar DeRozan slide down to the 4. So DeMar DeRozan will be the power forward. If you do not know, DeMar DeRozan played most of his minutes at the power forward position last season, so that should not be an issue at all. But the issue is then who plays the 3, right? And it's probably, I would guess it would be Troy Brown Jr. because I think he fits the best in that starting lineup, but it could also be Caruso. The only thing about Caruso, though, is that without Kobe White, then your guard position off the bench looks very, very thin, and I don't want that. So just kind of look to see what Donovan puts out there tonight and for the rest of the preseason, because we do not know what his plans are for filling the Patrick Williams position, or the Patrick Williams hole right now, but we might get that answer in the preseason, and look for Donovan to kind of throw different guys with the other 4 starters to kind of see who plays well with the main guys. So that's number 3. Last but not least is the bubble players in the rotation. And I say bubble players because these are guys that are like fighting to get positional minutes and have no guarantee of being in the rotation at all. By the way, Ryan Arcidiacono is not in the Bulls anymore. I don't know why that's there. But these are guys like we talked about Alize Johnson, we talked about Stanley Johnson, and Derrick Jones Jr. Those are the 3 kind of main guys, 3 forwards that could be in the regular rotation or could not be. We do not know, but look for these guys to try to fight for a job in the rotation. The other guy I'm looking at is Marcus Simonovic. I honestly probably don't think he's gonna get minutes, but he may shock us in the preseason, and he might make the rotation. And then the other guy I would look out for is Javonte Green, because Javonte Green is a very solid defender. People do not really know who Javonte Green is, but he is a very solid defender. And with no Kobe White at the moment, I think that he has a chance to crack the rotation, at least before Kobe White gets back. So just look for guys that are kind of like on the cusp of making the rotation. Look for them to show out in the preseason, and they have to show out early because the first preseason game, we all kind of know that like the starters don't play the entire game. We're probably gonna see the starters only play the first half and then maybe start the second half, but then that's it. So this is the chance for the bench players to really show out. So look for, especially in the first 2 preseason games, for the bench players to play at their best, and then you get to kind of pick and choose who should be in the rotation, who should not be in the rotation, right? So that's all I have for you guys before the Bulls preseason starts. I am very excited. Like, it's really, really crazy that I'm so excited for a preseason game, but I am very excited to see this entirely new Bulls team come out and hopefully play well in the preseason. And then once the regular season starts, we're up and running, and hopefully they get a bunch of wins. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video. And for all of this Bulls season, peace.